So let's now back up and talk a bit more about CBAN itself. So the history of the organization, what are the goals of the organization, and really, yeah, thrilled to hear about the explosive growth that you've seen in membership.
Yeah. Well, I think if you want to know just a quick snippet about the history of CBAN, it is a network. It's got the word network in it. Was a place in which about 10 years ago, the Lumina Foundation said, we've got schools out there trying to do some really innovative things, but they're each doing it in silo. And they're all facing the same kind of issues and they're all looking to solve similar challenges. What if I brought them together? And so there were 7 schools. Southern New Hampshire is probably one of the most recognizable. Paul LeBlanc, their president, created College for America. University of Wisconsin was in the mix. Brandman University, which is now UMass Global. Northern Arizona, my institution, Lipscomb University. The Kentucky Community and Technical College System, they said all of us were trying to say, how do we put into place the thing that Amy Layton wrote about in Cracking the Credit Hour? How do we untether from time and just focus on what it is a student needs to know and be able to do? And so Lumina said, we're going to fund these 7 schools to come together to meet regularly on the shared challenges. We began meeting every couple of weeks, and I would go on behalf of my institution, sometimes brought my provost or my registrar or my financial aid, depending on what we were talking about. Lumina would bring together national experts to help us think about the challenges. We would all go away back to Northern Arizona or New Hampshire or Wisconsin and work on implementing what we talked about. And then we'd come back in a couple of weeks and take on another challenge. And this little group of 7 schools, really, we were onto something. And we became this community of folks that could be real with one another, could say, here's what I'm really struggling with, or here's what I'm up against. Oh, I experienced that same thing, and here's what we tried. And so that network is what became CBAN. We opened it up and brought in another 15 schools. Then we brought in 30 more schools into the conversation. And then we finally were like, hey, I think we're on to something here. Lumina Foundation said, well, what would happen if we actually spun this off not as a Lumina funded project, but as a standalone nonprofit entity? And so I left my institution to serve as the founding director to help stand up what is now known as CBEN, the Competency-Based Education Network, and to try to get that organization moving. And so I left my institution at the end of 2014 and have been serving as the president of the Competency-Based Education Network ever since. And we just want to be an agile group that can help find a path forward for folks, people who want to respond to a skills-based economy and know that competencies are at the core of making that happen. And so that's really what CBEN exists to do, bring together like-minded people, create a welcoming environment for them, and to help them find a path forward. And so that's a little bit about CBEN. And I think just the environment we create, the network, the collaboration amongst our members has been what's attracted more and more people to join in the movement and as well in the network.
That's wonderful. And coming back to your comment around, there's a lot of competency-based education. So what is it? I mean, you gave us a tantalizing clue there with that expression, which I love, untethering from time. So yeah, what's at the heart of CBE?
Really, at the heart is it's about what people know and can do. Not enough to have book knowledge, not enough to have only skills. You need both the knowledge and the skills coming together and that being demonstrated in new behaviors, right? So it takes knowledge, skills, abilities, it takes intellectual behaviors. And we look at that and we say, what do I need in this given context? So if I'm creating an accounting program, what is it an accountant needs to know and be able to do? They may be really, really good at the code of conduct, at debits and credits, at those kinds of things, but they're miserable to work with as a colleague, or they're mean and rude to their clients, right? They're not going to be successful. So we've got to have both the knowledge, we need skill and ability, but we also have to have the right kind of behaviors. So in CBE, we first start by saying, what is it a person needs to know and be able to do? And then we look to validate, do they have those knowledge, skills, abilities, and behaviors? We don't care about how long it takes for them to acquire it. What's most important is that they have it. We also don't care so much about where they got it. So maybe they learned that skill through a workforce development course. Maybe they got it on the job. Maybe they got it in the college classroom. All we really care about is, do they have the knowledge, the skill, the ability, and the behaviors that we're looking for? Are they at the level we would expect? And if so, let's validate that and let the person earn the credential. So the time-based component is variable in most CBE programs, but the learning we're holding fixed, those abilities, the knowledge, skills, abilities, and behaviors. So it's about what a person knows and can do, what they can do with that knowledge, and then intentionally making sure we can validate that. And then not worrying so much about how much time it's going to take them. Some people need longer, some people need less time, but we want to hold that learning constant. Does that make sense?
It sure does. And I think especially today that resonates so much more.